on our YouTube. We got some more people coming in, so let them get in. Okay, they are in. So to start things off, how we kind of have to sign in to have proof that you were here, I need you to go into chat and put in there who's with you. We will get you certificates to you, but who's with you, you know, how many people, their names, and then the name of your facility, so that we can get you certification and that way we have proof that you were here. So, we still got a couple more people joining, so. Hang on, I got some emails coming in too. Sorry, just for a little bit, I kind of have to go everywhere because people contact me through email and different things. Diane, if you don't mind, keep an eye on chat in case people ask questions there. And
oh, okay.
Still got some more coming in, guys. Let me get them all in and we'll get started.
It was inappropriate, not to mention manipulative and stupid. You smoke? I know, okay, I know you everybody do not me, but I read out of
Guys, if you can, we've had some new ones come in. If you guys can mute, unless you have a question, come off, you can come off mute and ask a question, but if you would, that way it keeps, you know, just the primary person speaking up front, so. Can you guys hear me okay? Sometimes I have trouble with the mic not picking up well.
Got it. Oh, she's recording it now.
Oh,
I hear you good, man.
Good.
Here now. Can you hear?
Yeah.
She can hear it now. All right, love y'all. That's okay. I love you too, buddy. He's busy. I love y'all. Bye.
All right. Well, every time I just about to get started, some more come in. So sorry about that. And as you know, it takes a little bit once I. Okay, if you've not done so already, I ask that you go into the chat and put in the chat who's watching the video and the name of your center or daycare home or at-risk program, so that we can get you proper proof that you attended the training.
They're recording it though.
So, and again, if you could guys just mute yourself. If you have a question, go ahead and come off mute. You know, I'll make it where you can come off mute and ask the question. Do not hesitate to interrupt me. And, you know, if you have a question, this is very informal. So just come on in and interrupt me and I'll be able to answer the questions. Let me, I'm going to share my screen. So the slides that I'm kind of using today are actually were slides that were created for our program. So I'll skip through some of the stuff that really isn't for you guys, it's more for our guy, for us, but there was a lot of good information. I wanted to be able to use that. So let me,
Do you not touch
Get
his
my
picture
fly
and get a big screen of him so you can understand him better?
okay, can you guys see this? This is the, I wanted to give you, this is, the resource center. So this is an excellent place for you guys to go to. You can get most of the paperwork that you need. If you know, if we haven't got it to you, you need to get some printed off quickly, you can get it from there. Your manuals and everything are in here. You can go through, find something that you're interested in, click on. This is, you should be able, can you guys see the HTTPS at the top? Is everybody able to see that?
No.
Yes, no?
I can.
Okay, good. As long as
Yes.
you can see it, then, you know, I'd take a screenshot or take a picture of this so you have this, and you can go in and actually get anything that you would get from us, you can get from them. There's a lot of great information on here. Go through it, spend a little time looking at it. So, they got some more people. Admit on. So that is our resource center now. Give me. Now we'll switch over to this.
We both get credit for this.
And hang on 1 second. Let me get this phone call. This Joe. Hello.
Hello. No.
Mom, if y'all want to talk about some stuff, y'all go ahead and talk. I'm working through getting somebody on. They're having trouble getting on.
Just a minute, Mom.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Raise your hand. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take enrollment forms while he's trying to get all these latecomers online. Of course, your homes, you know that we have to have new enrollment forms and they have to be dated before, dated October the 1st or before. Every space on that enrollment form needs to be filled out. And with the new enrollment forms, they've got a space on the back that where you can check race off. And if you guys would please take a look at that and ask if the parent didn't fill it out, ask if they would, because the state still requires us to give that breakdown and we're not allowed to guess. So the only thing we can go by is what the parents tell us. So if you would get new enrollment forms. Now for you centers, you have to have, and for the homes too, we have to have an enrollment form filled out on the day that you, or before, when you want to start counting that child. For instance, if you took on a new child on the 10th and you didn't get the enrollment form till the 20th, well, then you're gonna lose 10 days on that child. Because again, we have to, that enrollment form has to have a date on it that falls on the day or before the child actually starts on the food program. So if you would, and for centers, you guys just pay it. We try to call you whenever you've got some that are expiring, but try to pay attention to that. And it would help us a whole lot if you went ahead and sent us your enrollment forms as you get them, because we're really not supposed to call and tell you that we need one, but we do. If so, work on those. Income eligibility. Everybody should have the new income guideline things. And if you don't have the new one for 2022, if you don't have the new one, then make sure that you call us and let us know. Or you can go, like Joe said, you can go on the resource library. If you want a really nice, good, hard, copy, you can always go there if you don't want to wait for us to fax it to you or whatever. On the obligation to serve, again, that has to totally be filled out. And when it's that you need to check also, because a lot of times new parents will they'll put down that if you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. They'll put down that they're not accepting your meals, your food. Well, when you've got a newborn that comes in and there's not going to be any food other than formula. So pay attention that they don't check that, because later on when that child reaches 6 months old, and you're going to start giving them solid foods. And if they've marked that they don't accept your food, then you can't count that child, because the parent can only provide one item for a meal and for infants. And so pay attention to that, if you would, please. Let's see what else we got. Income eligibility. That thing needs to be filled out totally. Put all of the family on one form. We don't need a new form for each person in the family. So if you would pay attention to that and get those into us to give us plenty of time to, get them checked over before the end of the month. Because the more of the stuff that we've got done before the end of the month, the faster it is for us to pay you guys. Okay. Let me think if there's anything else in the enrollment form packet that.
So with income eligibility, things that I'm finding that you guys are doing wrong the most, or you need to understand there is a difference in twice a month and every 2 weeks. Sometimes people get that wrong, and it makes a difference. So you'll have it, if you'll multiply it different. Twice a month is times 24 to give you your annual. Twice every 2 weeks is times 26 to give you your annual. So keep that in mind when you're figuring out income. It's usually best, especially if you have multiple different, some people will say, I get paid weekly and the next person gets paid twice a month or twice a week. I always convert it all to annual, and then that way you have exactly what annual is. So make sure that you are converting that correctly, the difference in the twice a month. Think about twice a month, there's 12 months, so that's 24. Every 2 weeks, there's 52 weeks, half of that is 26. That's the best way to try to remember that. That's the main thing I'm seeing, other than making sure that you as a provider are signing the back page. Get that page. And that's the main thing that I'm finding, just those two things right there. It is very important if we call you and tell you that you classified it wrong. In other words, you said it was free and we call you and tell it's reduced, or vice versa. Make sure you change that on your form, and so that the form is corrected, because if the state comes out or we come out, we should be seeing the same exact thing that we have in our office as well. So we should be calling you. I know I hear Diane and Sarah will call you and say, Mary was marked down as free and should have been reduced, or John was marked down as paid and should have been free. make sure you make those changes on the enrollment form so it matches exactly what your attendance is.
There's something else that you want to do. If they call and tell you that you classified it wrong, get them to explain to you why, and that way that'll kind of take care of the problems as you learn why it wasn't classed that way.
Okay, procurement, we are required to do procurement, and basically what procurement means, private versus entity, you guys don't have to worry about, but if procurement in the CACFP, if your purchase is under $10,000, you do not have to get any bids, you do not have to get, what they do ask is that you spread the wealth around, and they want you to spend your money at least in 3 different stores. I know some of you guys are in some small towns and there's not 3 different stores, and that's fine, but do try to spread it around to as many different stores as you can. You guys that are in bigger towns, you know, spread that around a little bit, please. You know, spread the money. And, you know, don't forget that you can use the farmer's market. You can use, you know, individuals, even individual farmers, as long as they're getting you receipts. So, spread that around as much as possible for under 10,000. If you do go over 10,000, you do have to get at least 3 quotes. You don't necessarily have to have bids on it, but you have to have quotes. I don't think we're going to have anybody go over 250,000, so we won't even really discuss that. But any questions on procurement? Here's some resources about procurement if anybody needs to take a screenshot of that. Okay, this is for us here, so we're going to skip through this part. I am going to go through this a little bit. Things that you should know. Meal reimbursements are submitted monthly by the institution, and they have active, anybody that has an active CACFP. So you guys need to be done at least, you're doing it once a month, in other words. Claim for reimbursement are processed for direct deposit weekly. So in other words, we process you guys' claim and we submit those on Thursdays, and the money comes around to us on Wednesday. So the way that we normally work it is you send it to us, we work everything we can up before Thursday and submit it. Then we write checks actually on Tuesday and put those in the mail so that you're receiving them a day or two before, you know, and within a day or two. So our money gets in there on Wednesday. That way we're actually sending it actually before the money gets there, so you can get your guys' check as early as possible. And that's what's saying we have to have them submitted by Thursday as number 3. And then number 4 is we have up to 60 days to submit anything. If you guys, for some reason, go beyond 60 days, it can't be submitted. I mean, it's just, it requires a corrective action plan, and it gets really, really serious. So the truth of the matter, whenever you guys signed an agreement with us, everybody agreed to have us the paperwork by the 10th of the month. So we really need that in here by the 10th of the month. It goes so much smoother if we can get it all in here and we don't have to, you know, it's a pretty big deal for us to have to go beyond that 60 days and get it in here. But if you can go ahead and get it in here, and the faster you get it to us, the faster we can get your check. You should be doing your paperwork at each meal anyway, so there's absolutely no reason after the last meal. You should be able to seal it up and send it in here unless you're waiting on an enrollment form or something. But honestly, if you don't have an enrollment form, you can't claim that kid. So you shouldn't be having to wait on anything. Without an enrollment form in hand, you can't claim the kid. That's just the way it is. So before the kid is put on attendance.
And I can't close out my month until everybody is paid for that month. So please try to get those. Now I've got several people that we have to call every month because they're hitting the deadline. And we've had some daycares lately who have missed being paid because they did not get their stuff in on time. That 60-day rule is set in concrete. You maybe once every 3 years, the state will allow us to go through that corrective action stuff if it's a late claim. But I've already had my late claim for with some latecomers, and so I won't be able to do it again for 3 years. So if you're, just please get it in the mail early.
Or fax it or email it.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to put it in the mail. You can scan it, send it to our emails. You can fax it to us, and snail mail is okay, but scanning it actually probably works out the best for us. But whatever's easiest for you guys, we're really here to serve you guys, and whatever makes it best for you guys. Okay, resource material. We kind of went over this a little bit before. In that where I showed you earlier, the resource area, you can find Child and Adult Care Food Programs, the handbook in there, and print that off if you want. There's a ton of great information in there about the best ways to operate your program and how to operate your program and to make sure that you're doing things right. If you haven't done this, I recommend this and go through it and spend some time reading it. I mean, you guys are, you're in business, and this is, the more you know about the business, the better you can run your business. So that's an excellent resource right there. Food buying guide, as well as an app that you can add to your phone. I do recommend doing this. It is really handy you can go in there and, if you're got to feed 20 kids, you can go in there and put, I need to buy hamburger meat, 23-year-olds or 20 whatever, and it's going to tell you how much that you need to buy. So it helps with your shopping. It's going to tell you exactly what foods are eligible and what's not eligible in the program. You can see right here, you guys can see right there, if you go to that gets you the food buying guide, but you can also, in whatever mobile device that you have, you can look up food buying guide in there and the app should come up. I really recommend getting the app and having it. It can be a lifesaver for you and become, real easy. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Farm to School. Farm to School is an initiative that it was a bill that was passed, and there's actually some funds available that are available. I know it says Farm to School, but they're considering your daycare center, your daycare home, a school per se. So there are monies that are available and grants that are available for you to actually set up and put up a little bitty, like a garden at your center. You can use those monies. You can use the money, the food can be utilized in your program, obviously. The money to grow your garden, if you don't get a grant, seeds and stuff are all eligible purchases for you to be able to, put in your garden. And it's an excellent way to teach the children. It's an excellent, and as you guys know, kids, if you get them involved, with growing it, that's more likely they're going to eat it, and that's getting better nutrition in them. And the food that you're growing in your garden, it is more nutrition, has more nutritional value than a lot of stuff you get from the stores. It is growing, as you see. We're up to like 42.8 million students that were involved in the farm to growing. So it's really growing and it's doing really well. It can help with procurement. They can help you with promotion. They can help you with education. They'll help you to be able to take that garden and be able to teach it. So there's 731 schools that are involved, 34.1 summer food eligible gardens and percent of, I'm sorry. And then Arkansas summer foods, they're also, you're serving local food. So anyway, if you want to get involved,
Joe, that's not summer food, that's
SFI,
School Food
I
Authority.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't come up with it. Farm to School, if you got some questions about that, want to get involved with that and you're curious about it, this is the contact for that. You can either go to the email, or you can send the email, call the phone number, or go to the web page as well. So I'll leave that up for a second.
Well, and it's a lot of fun for your kids to get out there and work in the dirt and help grow that stuff. And of course, anything they grow in that garden, they're going to eat. So it's a lot of fun, and it gives you an activity to work, to work with the kids in your daycare.
All right, this is the programs that are offered. you know, obviously you guys are well aware of this. You're in the CACFP or the at-risk program. We also do have a summer food program that is eligible. You do, in order to be involved in the summer food program, you do have to be a nonprofit organization. So if you guys, if your churches or something like that want to get involved, we are one of the few sponsors that actually will help you get involved. We take a lot of the hassle off of doing a summer food program off of you, and we'll help you do that. You know, things that are eligible, you know, even in your churches, if you just have a vacation Bible school, you know, we can help with funds for you feeding the kids at VBS, or if your school wants to, if your church just wants to feed kids all summer long, you know, we can help you with that. Reach out to us if you guys, you know, if you want to get involved, need some help with that, just reach out to us and we can definitely help you with that. It is definitely a very good program. You actually receive a little bit more monies for summer food program than what you do in the CACFP. So you can definitely get some kids and get them fed, you know, because they're fed, you know, when they're going to school, they're getting, you know, most likely a breakfast and lunch and maybe even a snack. But, you know, summer's closed, they're not getting all that. So these kids, they're going hungry. And so they show up, you know, they don't show up. And you know, you can feed up to 2 meals. You can feed a breakfast and a lunch, or they'll show up and kids are hungry. So we can definitely see with our summer food programs, you can see by the time of the month, if it's close to food stamps being out, participation cuts down a little bit. It doesn't stop, kids still come. But later on in the month, whenever the food stamps are running out, you can see participation comes up. So it's a very much needed program, and we definitely, you know, definitely want to get on board helping you guys with that. If you have any questions, please reach out to us and you know, let us help you get it done. This is average number of kids in the school lunch program, the summer food program, and the CACFP. All right, so waivers, this is some old information on waivers. Arkansas, for the longest, said they were not going to participate in any waivers if they were brought forth, and they finally decided to at the last minute to do the waivers. I have got any of the at-risk programs that needed waiver. We've got them approved, but they are approved to start in the 22-23. So in October is when they can start, you know, with the waivers. For now, you have to continue doing them just like we would normally do them. Waivers that we do have available for you guys that we signed up for the centers and the homes, is I did sign each of you, where we can still do reviews via phone call. So we're doing that. At the time we asked for them, COVID was kind of higher and things are getting so much more expensive. It's a little bit less cost on us. So that's why, you know, we signed up for the waivers. We still may come out and do some on site, especially if, you know, COVID backs off kind of like it has now. We still may be doing some on site. So we do have the ability to do them via phone if need be. So just real quick, how do you guys, do you prefer the online or the phone, or would you rather us be on site? People come off and give us some insight on this.
It doesn't matter to me. This is Cassandra Nelson.
Okay. Cassandra, it doesn't matter to you? Okay.
I would like to be
Crystal
on
Perry.
site.
It doesn't matter to me either.
Crystal, it doesn't matter? Okay.
Well, I have to learn. We don't care either. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever is just most convenient
We
for you.
don't care either. Whatever's easiest for you.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Documentation, things that you have to have documented and you have to keep on you. Of course, you need an attendance roster, and you have to have that attendance roster filled out daily. That's not something you should be coming out and filling out. It actually should be filled out, you know, when the kids get there, they need to be on the attendance and when they leave. So make sure you keep an attendance roster. Well, actually, we'll get into that in a second. So we will, talking about reviews, we were talking about a little bit ago with the waivers. We do still have to come out at least 3 times a year. We will try to come out at different meal times. We do come out and we want to observe a meal. We'll call either during a meal time you know, and then I know it's a little bit of hassle, but we may ask you to take some pictures and send them to us. That way we can see the meals, how much you're, you know, what you're feeding, how much you're feeding, we can see the kid. But it's still, you know, it helps us to be able to document it and to, you know, quantify what we found on our review. We can, you know, say, hey, you know, we've seen it. So a little bit of hassle to take the pictures and send it in, but it does help us. This is our review form, the same one. This is actually for us. Something that they really have brought up and kind of changed for us is we do now have to contact your families and make sure that, you know, so if you've got an enrollment form in there, we're going to be contacting a certain percentage of your families to say, hey, does your child go to this center or go to this home? You know, are they there for this many days a week? Basically, just verifying the information that's on the enrollment form and making sure that that information is still true. You know, it's just another way to make sure that, you know, if you said you had a kid down there and you've been showing a kid every day for the last 3 months, and we call the parent and they're like, no, they haven't gone there in 3 months. Obviously, you know, there's going to be some questions there and things that we've got to look into. So state has really kind of implemented that we really got to get on this. So that's something that we've been doing. How you guys can help us is, you know, kind of let the family members know ahead of time that they may receive a phone call. People just these days don't take phone calls too well. So we don't, you know, we find a lot of trouble with them, you know, getting our phone calls, but we're at least trying.
Joe, I have a question about that.
Yes.
So will you say My First Step or Cassandra Nelson? Because a lot of my parents don't even know the name of my daycare. They say they go to Cassandra Nelson.
Oh, I don't know.
So, I mean, if you say my name, they'll know. But like, if you say the name of my daycare, a lot of them will not know.
I didn't know who My
Yeah,
First Step was, so we would have said Cassandra Nelson.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
The homes, the daycare homes, we call you guys by your name. The daycare centers, they go usually by the name of the business. So homes, you know, it's Cassandra Nelson, Rhonda Woods, or, you know, the different homes. So that's what we'll ask for on those. Any other questions? Okay. Now, what we are looking for when we're doing a review is obviously we want to make sure that you're serving the meal times at the time that you've given us. So we print off what's on, you know, in the system. And so we're going to be calling at that time, and you should be serving at that meal time that you're serving. So we're going to look for the paperwork, make sure that you got the paperwork filled at the time that you're doing. Now, if the state comes out and review you guys, I don't want you guys to get nervous. Who they're actually reviewing when they do review you guys, they're actually reviewing us, making sure we're doing our job. So they should be coming back to us and saying, hey, this is what we're finding. You know, we need you guys to work on this and this and this. So you're not actually under review if the state comes out to it. It's actually us. So don't be nervous about it. You know, there's some girls that come out and they'll spend some time there, but they're really looking hard on us. So if you need anything during the review, reach out to us and we can see if we can help you too. Okay. The records that you guys, you know, that you get and that you send to us, you guys need to keep a copy as well. So you need to have that copy on you for 5 years. And the year that we're currently working on. So a year for us is October to November. So the previous 5 years plus the year that you're currently working on. So in other words, this is the end of 22. So you should have all the way back to what, 96? No, wow, 2016. Wow. My age just showed it there, 2016. You should have on you from 2016 on. So here in a little bit, when October gets, you should be able to get rid of 2016. You'll switch over to 17,000, all, you know, all up to 23. So any questions about that, guys?
Something that I want to add, Joe, is if you would get a binder and put like the child's enrollment form, income eligibility, obligation to serve in that binder and put them in alphabetical order, and, take them out and add to as you take on kids or kids leave. That
Yeah.
way, if you're not there when we show up or the state shows up, whoever's there can just hand them that notebook and it's all in one neat little thing there, and you don't have to dig, get nervous and dig trying to find stuff if you've got it in a nice, neat little binder.
I'm on mute.
Somebody said they were on mute. It's not on mute because I heard you say I'm on mute. I'm not sure who that was. So documents that you will need for review, of course, you'll need attendance roster, enrollment forms, income eligibility forms, obligation to serve infant forms. And while I'm thinking about it, so because we've had this come up, it hadn't been an issue for the most part, but it has come up before. So offering infants in the program is not an option. That's discrimination based upon age. So, a lot of people hadn't thought of that, but you have to at least offer it to the family. If on that enrollment form, if they just don't want, if they want to provide the food and they don't want to participate, that's fine, but you need that, the infant enrollment form on file saying that they don't want you to put that kid down. So you either have to be serving that kid, we need that infant enrollment form where they say it's okay, or we need it where if they say it's not okay, then you can't count them, but you've got documentation saying they requested not to, in other words, they don't want you feeding. Formula also, I know it, you guys know that it asks if you the provider will provide the formula, or if the family member will provide the formula. They can provide the formula even if they're providing the same exact formula that you are. So let's say they're on Infamil and you provide Infamil as well. You only have to provide one formula, by the way. You guys don't have to provide 10 different formulas. You can pick one, and that's what it is. If the family don't want it, they're welcome to provide the formula, even if it's the same formula, because a lot of people are on WIC and they get so much formula anyway, and it would just build up if the kids at your house all day long, and you're providing the formula. So even if they provide Infamil and you provide Infamil, you can still count that child, and it's not an issue. So like Mom was saying, the parents can provide one item, and that's actually the formula or the milk. And breast milk can be provided until they decide to stop. There's no age limit on it. If they're 3 years old and Mom wants to provide breast milk, then that's the way it is. So we do not have a limit on age for breast milk. Okay, these are some posters that we would be looking for when we come to. You guys need to have these posted up. The homes are not required to have these posted up. This is centers only, but these change out. This fact sheet right here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the fact sheet and the building for the future sheet change out annually. So we'll send those out annually. If you don't have a new one, you can contact us. We can send it to you, or you can go to that resource center where we talked about earlier and get them as well. The And Justice for All is not supposed to change out annually, but here lately they've been changing it out kind of frequently. As our topsy-turvy world that we have right now changes, they have to change this frequently. They still have not. We don't have any of the newest ones yet. So when they get them, we'll try to get them to you. I'm not sure what the holdup is. I guess it's just taking a while for them to print them. So. Okay. Requirements for the paperwork is, your records must be documented immediately. All meal counts must be documented during the meal service time, and attendance may not be used to count meals. So in other words, you need to be marking it down. We've actually got a state reviewer. She'll come out and she'll ask you if you know what point of service is. That's what point of service. We've talked about that quite a bit. This is what point of service. So if she asks you what point of service, this is what she's asking. That means that you have to document what's going on at the time that the meal is being served. That's what point of service means. In other words, you can't come back at the end of the day, look at your attendance record, and then fill in your meals at that time. You need to be filling it in at the time because, who's to say Johnny didn't leave before lunch and you didn't feed him, meals? You just got that he was there and, what time he's gone, but this is what they actually are, that they're very, big on that right now. So making sure that you are marking down how many plates that you fixed at lunchtime, how many plates that you fixed at breakfast, how many plates that you fixed at snack. So, and again,
And it's also,
go ahead.
it's also important, Joe, let me have it a second. It's also important that if that state reviewer is there, that when you do that point of service, make sure that it's very obvious that you're doing that you're counting those plates as you're setting them down, because sometimes she's a stickler, but if you can go through the motions of showing that you're counting the plates that you're sitting down and what the age groups are, fill that out right there in that way. Because she's written to us about a bunch of people that she can't determine whether they're doing point of service. So, like Joe said, don't try to fill out your production record using your attendance record, because a child may come in late or he may leave early.
And again, I want to say it one more time, point of service is what it's called. So she's gonna ask you what point of service is. And we just haven't called it point of service. We've talked about this every year at our training. We didn't call it point of service. So people, when she was asking what point of service was, they're like, I've never heard of point of service. Well, that's what it is. Just the fact that you have to write it down during the mealtime is what point of service is. Records that must be, let me see, what must be done immediately, that's your meal count. What must be done daily is your attendance roster, your meal production records, and meal counts for contracted meals if you have contracted meals. Records that must be maintained monthly is your claims reimbursement records. That's the form that you fill out and send to us with your total claim and stuff. Your receipts and all that stuff need to be sent to us monthly. And if you have contracted meals, anything, and I don't think we have anybody on here that's doing contracted meals right now. So your vendor menu for each month. Records that must be out annually is enrollment forms, income eligibility forms, and training must be attended annually. So you guys are here doing training now. So, enrollment forms, I probably recommend, I think the best way to do enrollment forms is for you to pick a month and do all your enrollment forms in a month. I know you're gonna have people come in throughout the year, maybe have new ones, but let's say May is your month. In May, even though maybe somebody come in April, do in April, but then do everybody in May. And then that way, always in May, you can start in April and have them dated, for May 1, and you can always have your May forms. It's the easiest way to keep up with it. If you're trying to keep it separate, Mary comes in October, Johnny comes in November, and you're doing remote forms, it's hard to keep up with it that way. I mean, you can do it. We have to go through and we're looking at it, we're looking at enrollment forms. Every time you guys are sending in enrollment, sending in an attendance record, we go through, compare that attendance record to enrollment forms. You guys actually should be doing the same thing. That way you're making sure you get the right free, right reduced, right paid, making sure that's the current enrollment form. So, because we have to have a current enrollment form. We've been very, very nice to actually call you and say, hey, this enrollment form is expired. But technically what we should be doing is counting off for that kid. Because if you don't have an enrollment form, you shouldn't be able to get paid for that kid. So guys, this is something we've really, really got to work on and try to get a little bit better about, is keeping current enrollment forms on file for you, on file for us. Okay, your records, they do need to be accessible and are not to leave the site. Your dog will eat them. So keep them there on site with them at all times. They need to be there for a period of 5 years, like we talked about earlier. That's just the time of service documentation. That's the rules for that time of service that we talked about. That's how much of a big deal it's been. They were giving us the rule that we must be following, because this was something that they're giving to all the sponsors. This is an attendance roster. You should be using something close to this. Some of you maybe changed a little bit and kind of using your own, but it should be really, really similar to this. We do want you to fill it out in blue or black ink. That makes it a lot easier to make copies and read and be able to take care of it. This is an enrollment form, current enrollment forms that we're using. We do need, guys, I know in the past we've kind of let you use up the ones you've already printed up, but these have been out for a little while. At this point, everybody should be using this current enrollment form, and we need to be using it. There's just some information that we can only gather from this form that aren't necessarily on the old forms. So if you would, start using this current enrollment forms. Again, if you need to get, we've sent everybody some, so everybody should have some. If not, you can get it from the resource center or call us and we can send you one, either one. This is the letter to the parents that you should be sending out every year. Every time they get an enrollment form, you should send this out to them as well. So that is in the resource center, and we send you guys some of those as well. So. All right, we've talked about all this before. This is the income eligibility form.
Hey, Joe, that was not an income, that was not an enrollment form
No,
that you
that's why I'm
showed.
just
That
now
was an
looking at that.
income.
I'm seeing that they listed that, but let me see if I can find an enrollment form real quick. Give me 1 second. All right, we'll go. I'll just show you how to utilize this. Will help. Let us show you how to utilize the resource library. So, enrollment form, you can go down. Sometimes it's hard to find things on here, but they are here. But you should be able to look. You know, application forms for CACFP. That's the NSLP. That's National School Lunch, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. Summer food program or summer food program. You shouldn't have to worry about that. If you go down into forms for CACFP, child and adult care, and this is the WIC, that's the income guideline, and production attendance roster.
Everything's there. It's just hard to find sometimes.
It's hard to
But if
find.
you have a
yeah.
problem, if
This
you're
is
looking
the
for
enrollment
something and
form
you
right
can't,
here.
Go up to, you need to go up to where it says 7/20/22. That's the new income form.
Up
Oh.
to,
There you go, right there.
oh, yeah. So that's the newest enrollment form. It is 2 pages.
if you guys
There's
get
lots
on
of
there
things.
and y'all are if you guys get on there and you're looking for something and you can't find it, give us a call, because we've spent hundreds of hours in there looking for stuff. So if you have a problem, give us a call and we'll walk you through where it's at.
So things that you guys can tell that I do see other people doing. Hang on 1 second. If for some reason they do have a SNAP benefit, and if they put in their case number and name right here, they do not have to fill out any of the rest of this. As long as they have a SNAP number, then they don't have to put down income or anything.
I have a question.
Yes,
Income eligibility is just for centers, right? Not family homes?
yes.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted,
Yeah, you guys just have to do enrollment forms at home. Income eligibility form is actually for these centers. Sorry about that. All right, we'll go back to here. This is last year's free and reduced guide. We should have sent you the new one. This is where you guys should all be familiar with this, but this is where you find out, you know, if they're free, reduced, or paid. Meal service times. Again, you need to be serving the meals at the time that you've actually got down in our program. If you're not sure what time you're supposed to be serving and what we have in your application, call us and we can let you know. I did a little while back, I think I called everybody and I confirmed everybody's meal time. If your meal times change, you have got to let us know, because the state is going to get into the computer. If they're going to come out, they're going to get into the computer and look at what time it is, and that's what time they're going to show up. If you're going to change it for that day for some reason, you know, say you're going to go do a picnic or you're going to do something a little differently than they're normally do, call and let us know. We have got to know if you're not serving a meal. If you're down for Saturdays and Sundays, and you know, that's just something that's every once in a while, you need to call and let us know. Hey, I don't have kids this Saturday or this Sunday. We've got to know ahead of time when you're serving these meals. If you're not serving them at that time, that can become an issue. So
Yes, and any day that you're closed, you need to give us a call because the state comes out and you're not there and you haven't called us, then we're all in trouble. So make sure you call ahead of time if something happens that you're not going to be open.
Now, that doesn't include holidays. They're not gonna be on a holiday, you know, you don't necessarily have to call for a holiday, but if it's a normal business day and you're gonna be closed for some, whatever reason, let us know so that we can let them know. What I do is when you guys call us, I immediately shoot an email over to the state and our licensing personnel and let them know. That way, you guys are covered and we're covered and, you know, it's just not an issue, so. All right, some of the common findings that the state's finding and we are finding as well is making sure that, you know, you guys are receiving training now, but you also need to go back and give some training to your people and document that you've done some training, especially in civil rights training. That's kind of a big deal. We all talked about this a little while back about having to have a civil rights folder and proof that you did some civil rights training. It doesn't have to be long and extensive. In that resource center, as a matter of fact, we'll go back, I'll show you this. In the resource center, right. Like I said, it's hard to find stuff in here. You just have to take your time. I have trouble finding it too. We all do, actually. It's one of the things we talk about. Training material. Well, I thought it was right. Here it is. It's under at risk, but it's good for CACFP too. But this is civil rights trainings for you guys. You guys can click on this right here, and it's just going to give you some slides, civil rights training that you can utilize. This is for you guys. You can utilize to actually go through and do your training in this. So you do have to train all your personnel when they're new, and at least annually, you've got to do some civil rights training and have an attendance roster saying that you've done it. Matter of fact, I got to do civil rights training on you guys right now, so we'll just go through these slides real quickly. So goals of civil rights is equal treatments for all applications and beneficiaries, knowledge of rights and responsibilities, elimination of illegal barriers that prevent or deter people from receiving benefits, and dignity and respect for all. So what is discrimination? It's the act of distinguishing one person or a group of persons from another, either intentionally, by neglect, or by the effects of actions of lack of actions based on the protected classes. What is a protected class? Any person or group or of people who have a characteristic for which discrimination is prohibited based on a law, regulation, or executive order. So 6 protected classes are race, color, national origin, sex, and that means male, female, or nowadays, I forget what they call it, but they can be self-proclaimed, or so they're still protected, you know, for their self-proclaiming. So if they identify as I don't know, whatever they want to identify as, that is still protected. Age and then disability. And the age where we can really have issues is, you know, infants. That's the one thing that we've seen come up every once in a while. People just not want to put. So this is a little more of a hassle. Parents are kind of picky about infants, and it's easy to just say, I'm just not going to do infants, but we can't discriminate based upon infants. So the 4 Ds of discrimination is denying benefits, delaying benefits, treated differently, or given desperate treatment or something, which does not seem discriminatory, but has a discriminatory impact in practice. Some examples of discrimination: to refuse a participant's enrollment based on a disability, failure to provide reasonable accommodations to disabled individuals, serving meals at a time, place, or manner that is selective distributing applications and income, failure to provide the same eligibility criteria to all participants, and failure to provide foreign language and materials regarding CACFP. So everything that we have, we also have in Spanish. let me know if you need it in a different language. I think I can try to find it. I'll do my best to help you guys find it, but I believe there's a resource within the state that we can get you in a different language if need be, so. Components of civil rights compliance, public notification system. That's that poster that you guys have to have up on the wall. And also you need to have, anytime you're putting something publicly out there, because you're part of the USDA program, you need to have that non-discriminatory statement. You know, this program is part of the USDA and does not discriminate. So, outreach and education, data collection, reasonable accommodations, language assistance, civil rights compliant procedures, and conflict resolution. Equal access. All participants who attend must be provided equal access to the benefits of the CACFP. To withhold the program from any eligible age group is age discrimination. Public notification must include information on eligibility, benefits and service, i.e. free reduced price meals, program availability, application rights and responsibilities, procedures for filling out a complaint, non-discrimination policy, and any programmatic changes. In other words, changing location of a meal site. Methods of public notification is public release issued by the state. Post, you have to have that adjusted in all posters. And other methods of public notification is bulletins, letters, and internet computer-based applications. This is the injustice poster for all that must be posted. I think there's actually a newer one than this, but as soon as we get that newer one, we'll get it to you guys. All organizations participating in the CACFP must provide informational materials in the appropriate translation concerning the availability and nutritional benefits of the program. You do a news media replace required to be done for all participating in CACFP. So we annually do a media, we send it into the newspaper, which is what we're required to do. If the newspaper posted, that's on them, but we do annually say that, hey, these are centers, these are daycare homes, this is at-risk programs that are participating in CACFP under our sponsorship. So we do that annually. So outreach and education, you'll want to reach as many potential participants as possible. You want to assure the program has access. You need to pay attention to underrepresented groups. And this is really a lot to do with at-risk, but you know, you guys in business is a little different. Include the required non-discriminatory statement on all appropriate FNS and agency publication websites, posters, and informational materials. And then when using graphics, reflect diversity and inclusion. So this is the required non-discrimination statement language. So the full statement is, you know, this right here, and this is what's actually posted on the program. The next one is kind of the short. Oh, that continues on. Yeah, this is the short one. If you don't have room for that full disclosure, this institution is an equal opportunity provider. So you can put that on the bottom of, you know, your paperwork if you're going to send it out publicly. Collecting and recording participation data, that's all done through the enrollment forms. So that's the only way that we can actually use those now. And this is the different ethnicities and racial that's actually on that enrollment form, and we fill it out. So the two ways that you can get ethnic and racial data is either through self-identification or self-reporting, which is a preferred method. If a household does not provide racial and ethnic information, you may use one of the following methods: visual identification by a center official, personal knowledge is the two ways that you can do it. So, data management collection systems must ensure the data collected and retained are collected and retained by each program site, kept secure and confidential, submitted if requested, headquarter offices, kept on files for 5 years plus the current program year, identify all sources of information used.
Hey, Joe, go back up one slide.
Okay.
I don't, one more. I don't think that they allow visual identification
That's here.
anymore.
It says
It has
event
to
within action
be,
by center official. I was kind of wondering about that too, but this is
Yeah.
this is the very recent.
no, you can't guess it. You either have to, get the parent to do it for you.
Yeah. Well, you can ask the child or the parent, and they can say it, but you're not supposed to just look and guess. So I don't know why that's on there, but this, anyway. A disability is defined as any physical or mental, providing food substitutions. So if they have an allergy or, they have a swallowing issue, you guys have to work to make sure you're providing, based upon that. So, food allergies. Now, for you to be able to count a food allergy, it is important that you guys have to get a doctor's statement. That doctor's statement has to say two things. It has to say, well, more than two, but they have to identify the child, name, date of birth. But Mary is allergic to milk. Mary's substitute for milk is blah, 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 whatever they, so it has to tell what they're allergic to and what the substitution for that product has to be. So it's important that both of those items are on there to be able to count them, so. Okay. Also, limited English proficiency. Individuals who do not speak English as their primary language and have limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English. Recipients of federal financial assistance have responsibility to take reasonable steps to ensure meaningful access to their programs and activities for persons of limited English proficiency. So if you guys have that situation come up, get on the internet. There's lots of assistance for, language proficiency, and you get on there and they can help with that. If not, give us give us a call and we can see what we can do to help with that too. You can use volunteers, but make sure they understand that, the interpreter ethics. In other words, they need to say exactly, they need to be saying exactly what the person is saying, not interpreting what the person is saying, but saying exactly. Not, in other words, not saying, well, they're trying to say this, and this, and that. They need to be saying, they need to be interpreting it, English to Spanish or Spanish to English. A shortage of resources does not eliminate the translation requirement. So you can use interpreters from another area, train bilingual staff to be interpreters. You can contact grassroots organizations to discuss transition or assistance form within the community. A language line phone services may be available for a subscription fee through your local telephone service provider as well. So, right to file a complaint. Any person who believes he or she or someone he or she knows has been discriminated against based on federal protected classes has a right to file a complaint within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. Complaints should be completed. The USDA program discrimination complaint form, that we sent that form out to you guys. Complaints may be contacted both by the following offices to register a complaint. You can do it through the USDA or Department of Human Services. Handling civil rights complaints. Complaints can be written or verbal. Anonymous complaints should be handled as any other complaint. Sponsors can give complaints a civil rights complaint form to complete. We've given those guys to you. Document all potential complaints in a civil rights complaint log. You guys should have that log as well. Have a central location with the civil rights complaint forms and the civil rights complaint log. So we talked about having a file with your civil rights.
Gypsy. Gypsy.
Following information should be included in your civil rights complaint: name, address, phone number of complainant if provided, if not required. Specific name and location of the entity and location delivering the benefit of service, the nature of the incident, action, and method of administration that led to the complainant to feel discriminated against. The following information should be included in civil rights complaint continues. The basis on which the complaint feels discriminated exists: race, color, national origin, sex, age, disability. The name, titles, and business addresses of person who may have knowledge of the discriminatory action, and the dates during which the alleged discriminatory action occurred, or if continuing, the duration of such action. Civil rights training for your agency or staff. All staff who work with a CACFP must receive training on all aspects of civil rights compliance annually. Topics are: what is the discrimination, collecting, retorting, where to display posters, what is civil rights complaint, and how to handle civil rights complaint. Retain training records of the people who receive civil rights training. A civil rights must-do list. You must provide CACFP in a non-discriminatory manner. You must offer meals to all participants in care and provide meal substitutions to participants with disabilities. You must prominently display an injustice for all posters. Non-discriminatory statement and complaint filing procedure must be on all printed materials available to the public, which mention USDA and other CACFP, including websites. Annually complete the ethic and racial data form. Post and or distribute the building for the future flyer to all families. So we do the racial data form annually for you guys. That's why Sarah and Diane went around a little bit asking. We get most of it off of your enrollment form. So. Civil rights continue to provide informational materials in appropriate translation concerning the availability and nutritional benefits of the CACFP. Train staff annually on civil rights and provide documentation of completion, a certificate, or a sign-in sheet. Development and fully implement your civil rights complaint procedure. Make available to all staff civil rights complaint procedures. And after reporting a complaint to the USDA, refer all civil rights complaints to Arkansas DHS Health and Nutrition Unit as well. All right, that's the civil rights training. Okay, seriously deficient and operational weakness versus operational weakness. So when we come out and we do reviews, or we're talking to you on the phone, a serious deficiency is if a participating institution has committed one or more serious deficiencies. The institution.
Joe, would you go?
Yes.
Would you go back up a slide and cover those what the state's been finding?
Oh, okay. Common findings. So things
Yeah.
that we are been finding common or the state's been finding is training, staff training documentation is not available to show that the staff are trained at the site level for CACFP or civil rights. So making sure that you got all your staff signed in. I mean, do a sign-in sheet and that you've done the training. In other words, you need to have your agenda, your sign-in sheets, and material used or notes. Monitoring visits not complete within, this is actually the findings for us. That's why I wasn't doing it. But monitoring visits not completed, documentation or record tripping, missing receipts or other required documentation. So inventory records not maintained to support food costs. In other words, receipts aren't being found. Enrollment or income forms are missing. Meal patterns, not all meals meet the minimum component and quantities required for reimbursable meal. So that's something we do find every once in a while. So, before you send in the paperwork, go back through and just do a quick glance and make sure. Sometimes people will just leave one component blank. And I figured you just get busy and forgot to fill it in. So make sure before you send it in that you've got all your components done. And if you're doing it each meal, that shouldn't be a hard thing to do. So just keep up with it each meal. It makes it so much easier. The biggest one we are finding is milk deficit. Almost monthly, we're having people that are short on milk. And I really think what's happened is people have full intention on doing the milk, but they get so used to just pouring it. And you need to, something really to remember is they'll go buy an 8-ounce cup because they're supposed to be serving 8 ounces of milk. Well, 8 ounces of milk in an 8-ounce cup is to the very tip top of that cup. That's how you get 8 ounces. And none of us are going to give a child a very tip top to the top of the cup milk. So you need to have bigger cups than just 8 ounces. And then measure for a while. And if you're using the same cups all the time, you'll know I got to hit this line right here. But get you an 8-ounce measuring cup, pour it into your cups so you know what line you got to go to. For a while, until you think you can do it, use an 8-ounce measuring cup and pour it in there. But after that, making sure you're getting at least the 8 ounces. Go a little bit over. So
I have a question.
Sure.
So, like, what I do is I do have 8-ounce cups,
Mhm.
but like I'll fill it up twice because if I fill up a whole cup, even if it's bigger than, they tend to spill it a lot. So
Okay.
I'll fill up milk and then fill it up again because most of my kids, well, majority of my kids love milk. But I just fill it up like maybe halfway and then fill it up again halfway once they drunk that down. Because majority of my kids, they will, as soon as we put our plates and milk down, they will go ahead and drink some of their milk and then we refill it again because I notice when I use bigger cups, they tend to waste it when they're trying to drink it. So I
That's
do it
fine.
that way.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just by the end of milk service, you gotta make sure they have those 8 ounces. Now, where you can run in trouble with that is a lot of cups are wedge shaped, kind of. And so halfway looks like it's here, but you got, it's actually above the halfway up and down point because it gets wider. So again, if you're just doing 4 ounces and 4 ounces, put that 4 ounces in that cup so that you know what 4 ounces looks like, and not just a half a cup, because half a cup can be a little bit deceiving because of the angles of cups, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you're just a half an ounce off at every meal, it's going to throw you out at the end of the month, and it's going to look like you did not buy enough milk. And even if all of your kids was free, the absolute minimum that you're going to lose if you don't have the right amount of milk is going to cost you about $14 a gallon, all the way up to about $25 a gallon in lost food program money. So
Well, you have to give it.
every once in a while, get you that, especially when you got somebody new serving, get you a measuring cup and use it for a little bit till you get an idea of where that milk's going to go on that cup. And for you that said that you served half and half, if that child doesn't drink his first half and doesn't request the second half, or you don't pour the second half, then that would make you about 4 ounces short of milk for that meal. So at the end of the month, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Plus, we have to do a corrective action on that.
That you have to serve it. They don't have to drink it. You just have to serve it. Just understand that. We're paying you to pour that milk out if it's got to be poured out, but it's got to be served to them. So, you may have a child that doesn't like it. That's just, we still got to give it to them, and it's still got to be wasted, but you're reimbursed for that way. So that's just the best way to look at it. So, any other questions with the milk? I really do recommend measuring cup and making sure that you're getting to the lines, because this is probably our number one biggest thing that we see is a shortage of milk. And you'll call, I don't get milk, I get milk. But just like Mom says, a half ounce short times 10 kids, that's 4 ounces. 4 ounces times 20 days, you've got 80 ounces that you're short, just by a half an ounce short. So, okay. Meal production records, generic, non-specified food lists. In other words, we see this mainly like they'll just put cereal for breakfast. You can't just put cereal. You have to put Cheerios or whatever the name of the cereal that you're serving. So that's, and then less than arm's length transactions. So less than arm's length transactions means, in other words, you can't buy. What would it mean for them, Mom? I guess they can't be buying vegetables directly from themselves, or?
Right, they couldn't be paying themselves to grow vegetables, or that's a lot of that is for
at-risk program.
Like, for instance, if you had an at-risk program and you were renting a building, you couldn't rent that building from somebody that was less than arm's length, is from a spouse or a brother or a sister or a mother or a father. It's got to be more than an arm's length transaction, or the state and USDA comes down on us for that. So, but I don't know of any of y'all that would apply to.
But yeah, you couldn't buy vegetables out of your husband's garden. That would be something they wouldn't allow. So, or wives, I guess I should say it that way too. So serious suspicion.
Dairy farm, you can't buy your own milk.
one or more serious deficiency results in a disallowance of meals or an administrative expense, the state must establish an overclaim. To the extent possible and appropriate, the state agency must identify the person or persons responsible for the deficiency for the purpose of assigning financial responsibility to the RPI in addition to the institution. Failure to correct action to fully and permanently correct the serious deficiency by the allotted time will result in proposed termination. So if you get a serious deficiency, we're gonna ask for a corrective action plan. And you have to give us a corrective action plan that is accepted and initiate that corrective action. If we come in and find that you're not doing the corrective action plan, you could be put out of the program for 7 years. So out of any program, not just the food program, but if you're doing vouchers or any of those, you couldn't even have a license. You couldn't even have a daycare license. So it's a big deal. If you get a corrective action plan, it's a big deal to get it filled out and follow it. So a
Well, corrective action plan is where we would start. We would start with a corrective action and ask you what you're going to do to fix it. And we'll send a form along with it. You very specifically fill out that form as it's required.
This is the form right here. Go ahead.
Yeah, and nope, that's not. No, but that's not well.
That's
I
just the
can't
new
tell if
form.
that's new. Yeah, and our form will be a little bit more detailed than that. So, but now it starts with corrective action. Now, after you send in your corrective action, if we come out there and we find the same thing again, or let's say, for instance, you got corrective action on milk. Okay, we wrote you the letter. You told us that you were going to buy enough and you were going to serve enough milk. Okay, if the next month or 2 months or 6 months or whatever, we come and you're short of milk again, then that turns into serious deficiency. And again, you will be asked to send in a corrective action stating what you're going to do to fix the problem. Okay, that's 2 strikes. But if you do it a third time, then they kind of think that you don't intend to get the problem fixed. So then it could turn into proposed terms. So when you get corrective actions, pay attention to the dates. Make sure that you reply in the correct amount of time, and don't do it again. That's just the best way I could put it, is don't do it again. Be very careful from that point on, because it could turn into proposed termination. These are not rules that we make up, but they are rules that we have to follow or we will be in trouble. So just help us out there.
So, and it actually starts out with a technical assistance. So that's how we generally start, is we're going to come in and say, hey, we're going to give you some technical assistance. This is what you're doing wrong. This is what, and we're going to tell you what you need to be doing wrong. If we see that problem again, then it's going to go to corrective action plan. So, we're going to give you some technical assistance. If you're brand new and, you're just starting, you're not going to start right off with a corrective action plan. Unless it's something just blatantly, absolutely serious, that's a different idea. But you're not going to be in trouble for just a topographical, issue. That's not going to get you in trouble, but these are some serious matters. Milk is actually, one of the things that we've really going to have to, we're going to start giving more corrective action plans for milk. We just see so many people, the same ones month after month, and we give them technical assistance. And we're going to have to actually just start, it's to the point where we're getting in trouble some over it. So,
but now let me cover a little bit more other than the milk, the biggest problem that we have. But if you, and we find out that you're submitting false information, that could turn quickly, very quickly into a proposed term, because this is a government sponsored program. This is government money that you're dealing with, and they're very specific with how how much of it you have to spend on food and milk, and what you can, what you can spend the other on. They're very specific. So if you're putting down kids that you don't have, or if you're putting down, well, you can't count meals that we don't, that you don't have down because they won't let us. But there are some things that can turn into proposed term very, very quickly if it's, well, we can't use the word fraud anymore, but if you submit false information, let's put it that way.
So in other words,
Okay.
if for some reason you decide to start using a vendor provide your meals, and you just make up a vendor and false receipts, that kind of stuff can get you in.
We've had that.
Seriously quick. Yeah, we've actually had that happen. So, and not only can you be disqualified, you can be made pay back that, the money, and they're gonna, the state will go to even to the point of saying, well, if they lied about this, then how do we know if any of it's true? You can owe thousands and thousands of dollars. So just, I don't think most of you guys are doing it, but just don't be tempted. It's so easy to be tempted to falsify and get it going and to get those funds in, especially nowadays, man, things are getting hard. So, if you do get terminated, there is an appeal process. Facility may be appeal the proposed termination by requesting an administrative review within 15 days of receiving the notice of proposed termination. A hearing is then held by the administrative review official, and the official must inform the state agency, the institution's executive director, and the chairman of the board of the directors, and the responsible principals and responsible individuals of the administrative review outcome within 60 days of the state agency to receive the request of administrative review. So things that are appealable: application denied for institution or sponsoring organization, termination, suspension, disqualification of an individual or principal from the program, denial of an institution's application for startup payment, expansion payments, or advance payments, recovery of all or part of advance in excess of the claim for the applicable period. The recovery may be through a demand of full repayment and adjustment of subsequent payments, and denial of all or part of institution's claim for reimbursement. Denied by a health and nutrition program to forward to food and nutrition services, an exception request by an institution for payment of a late claim or request. What is not appealable: denials based on late claim submission and serious deficiency finding. All right, that's the thing. Okay. Staff training, we've kind of gone over that. This is of course your annual training, your civil rights training. Any staff who are working with CACFP records and documentation must be trained at the site level. In other words, you gotta train your people. If they're gonna be working with the CACF program, you guys have to train them. You can call us and we can help train them if we need to, but they do have to have some training. You must have the following records. You have to have your agenda, your sign-in sheets, PowerPoint, and discussion notes. ADH certified food management training. So as you guys all know that if you have a health department approved kitchen in any form, fashion, or way, you have to have a certified food manager training. I think all of our programs do at this time. If you do not, that is good for up to 5 years. So keep up with that. You can turn in a receipt. There is some expense involved with getting a certified food manager, and you can train up to 2 people in your program to be a certified food manager. So keep in mind when you've chosen somebody, make sure it's somebody, you don't want to pay for somebody to be a certified food manager and 6 months later they're gone and they're not at your program anymore. So make sure it's somebody that you know that's going to be there. So it's a real deal. I don't know if anybody's not done it yet, but it was pretty difficult. So it took some learning and training. Optional trainings, the application training, and resource library training. There are some different trainings in that resource library I showed you earlier. You're welcome to go through it if you want to get some trainings from that. Just like I went through and got the one for the and justice for all, civil rights training. There's other trainings in there as well. We just went over this. Okay, PDR registry. I am in the process of trying to get it to where we can get, I know some of you guys have PDR requirements. By next year's training, I should be able to give you guys PDR. Our training will be able to be PDR qualified, so you should be able to get, my brain's leaving me on the word, but. Anyway, you should be credit, yeah, PDR credit. You should be able to get that next year. I tried to get it this year before training, but just was not able to get it done. But I believe I'm 99% sure we should have it ready for next year. So that's good news. So, all right, we've done the civil rights. Okay, meal patterns. We do have to go over some meal patterns, infant meal pattern requirements. The CACFP infant meal pattern provides flexibility. This allows you and the child care provider the ability to feed babies based upon their development readiness, ensuring that babies get what they need to grow and be healthy. So it's saying that there is some flexibility on infants. So not necessarily at 6 months, you know, yet tomorrow's their birthday. I've got to give milk today. Tomorrow's their birthday. I got to start feeding tomorrow. So there's some flexibility in that. In other words, that's why on your infant meals, it will say like 0 to 2 ounces. You have to offer it, but if they don't take any of it, that's why you put down the 0. You actually take down what they're taking. So flat. Oh. Minimum serving sizes are listed as ranges for infants because not all babies are ready. That's what I was just saying. The CACFP meal pattern takes a baby's usual eating habits into account. As long as all the required foods and amounts of foods are offered to the baby during the day, the meals are reimbursable under CACFP. As a child care provider, start offering baby solid foods after the parents have told you that after the parents have told you that the child is developmentally ready and is eating solid foods at home. Also, another thing I know we talked about earlier, and we've run into this a few times. Infants don't necessarily, you don't have to serve your infants at exactly your meal time. You know, they just need to be served whenever they're hungry. You're not gonna make an infant eat when it's just because it's, you know, 11:30. So you guys know what I'm saying. You don't necessarily have to serve exactly meal times on your infants. So this is a form that you can also get from the resource center that you can give to your parents to kind of give you some ideas about, you know, the parents. I mean, about the infants and help you, you know, be able to prepare meals for them. I think we've sent these out once. If not, if you need one, I can definitely get you one. If infant receives center home purchased iron fortified infant formula and center purchased by baby food, meals reimbursable. If the infant receives center home purchased baby food or parent provides iron fortified infant formula or breast milk, the meals reimbursable. If the infant receives parent provided low iron formula and center purchased food, meals reimbursable if the medical statement is on file for low iron formula. So if they're required to have low iron formula, we have to have a medical statement on it. So that low iron formula is very, very expensive. So you parents should be providing that. So if the infant received parent provided low iron formula and parent provided baby food, the meal is not reimbursable. So like we talked about earlier, you'd have to be providing at least some of it once they start eating. So birth to 5 months, ages birth through 5 months, 4 to 6 ounces of breast milk or formula. Only breast milk or formula is required CACFP until infants are developmentally ready to accept other food. 6 to 11 months, you know, we have to have the formula. We have to have some infant cereal, which is that iron fortified infant cereal, or meat, poultry, cheese, cottage cheese, or combination of above. So the thing here
Okay,
is
on
cereal,
your serving size over there, it says 0, like for instance, infant cereal, it says 0 to 1/2 ounce. Okay, the 0 doesn't mean that you don't ever offer it. It just means that the child may eat 1 spoonful and not anymore. So I was confused when that first came out because it had zeros everywhere. Again, your child, you feed those infants kind of introduce them to food as soon as the parents are ready for you to do that. But you've got to offer that, whether or not they eat it, you need to offer it.
And I want you guys to take notice right here, because I'm gonna bring this up many more times for the end of the day. This is 0 to ½ ounce equivalent. So ounce equivalent started last October. I have so many. of you
October
guys that are not-
21.
Yeah, last October, 21, not 22. So there's so many of you
20.
guys that are not doing ounce equivalents right now. You have got to do ounce equivalents. We've sent out tons of paperwork on how to do ounce equivalents. If you have any questions, we can try to help you with ounce equivalents. There's tons of paperwork in the resource center that you can look up for ounce equivalents, but you have got to convert your grains into ounce equivalents. Any questions on that ounce equivalents? Gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it. So for a snack, this is where the difference, I wanted you to notice for lunch and breakfast, it has to be iron fortified cereal. So infant cereal. Snack time, it can be other ready to eat breakfast cereal like Cheerios or something like that. So it doesn't have to be formula. I mean, it doesn't have to be iron fortified infant cereal for snack time. It can be regular cereal. You can throw some Cheerios down or something to count as a grain. So, you got to do at least 2 of these. So. No, they have to do all 3. Yeah, they have to do all 3. Milk,
On
grains, and fruit.
make sure, because something that we're seeing is on your snack, we know that on your big kids, you're only required to do 2 things, okay? But on the infants, you're required to do the formula or breast milk, a grain, and a fruit or a vegetable. So you've got 3 items there that you're serving for snack, not 2. But that's only for infants that are less than 1 year old.
6 to 11 months infant.
Yeah, 6 to 11 months.
Okay. Infant meal pattern footnotes. Breast milk or formula or portions of both must be served. However, it is recommended that breast milk be served in place of formula for birth through 11 months. For some breastfed infants who regularly consume less than the minimum amount of breast milk per feeding, a serving of less than the minimum amount of breast milk may be offered, and additional breast milk offered at a later time if the infant will consume more. Infant formula and dry infant cereal must be iron fortified. Again, beginning October 1, 2021, ounce equivalents are used to determine the quantity of credible food. Again, beginning October 1, 2021, ounce equivalents are used to determine the quantity of credible grains. We got to get on this. I know I read that twice, but it's because there's so many of you that are not doing it. Yogurt must contain no more than 23 grams of total sugars per 6 ounces. A serving of
Somebody's got their hand up, Joe.
Oh, who is that? Diane? Motorola One 5G. Go ahead, whoever it is. You got to come off mute. We can't hear you. I'm not sure who Motorola One 5G Ace is, but you're
Edward
muted.
McQueen.
Oh, Miss McQueen, so are you unmuted? You need to unmute yourself, Miss McQueen. I can't see her very well. I think maybe we can hear you now, maybe. Let me see. No, it still shows you mute. Can you talk to us? Let me see if that's you. Somebody's unmuted. Miss Evelyn?
If not, she can put it in a question in the chat.
Type it in chat, Miss Evelyn. Diane, if you can watch for that, please.
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
A serving of grains must be whole grain enriched meal or enriched flour. All your iron fortifieds are going to be whole grain or enriched. Breakfast cereals must contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. So the same cereal that your older kids have, the same cereal you have to serve to the infants as well. All right, feeding children ages 1 to 2. All children ages 1 to 2 enrolled for care in a child care center must be offered CACFP meals. 1 second. Any child whose parent, guardian provides any or all of the food for a meal service cannot have those meals claimed for reimbursement. So if they're providing any of the food, you guys can't claim them. They can provide the food, and that's on you, but you just cannot claim them. They can't be claimed. All meals must have the required components and portion size designated by the meal patterns in order for the meal to qualify for reimbursement. So if you leave off a component of a meal, we can't claim that meal. It's just missed. So making sure that you're getting everything in there. Meals claimed under CACFP must be consumed on site at the daycare facility and may be served in various styles. So you can't, mama's coming to get Mary right at time for snack. You can't hand that snack, let them take it home. It's got to be consumed there at the site to be able to claim the meal. Okay? Acceptable meal service styles. So a pre-plated meal, in other words, the adult pre-plates the meal and serves the children all required components in the correct portion sizes. A buffet style, children pass through a serving line and select pre-proportioned food items. The pre-proportioned items must be at least the minimum required amount per meal pattern guidelines. Children must take all required components for a reimbursable meal. Cafeteria style, children walk through this service line as an adult serves the meal components and portion size. Children must take all required components for a reimbursable meal. And family style, and modified family style, enough food to serve at least minimum portion sizes placed on the table. Children serve themselves with adult assistance to ensure each child has the minimum portion size on his or her plate. Child meal and pattern footnote. You must serve all 3 components for a reimbursable meal. Offer versus serve is an option for at-risk after-school participants. Beginning October 1, 2021, the minimum service size specified in this section for ready-to-eat breakfast cereals must be served. Until October 1, 2021, the minimum serving size for any type of ready-to-eat breakfast cereal is 1/4 cup for children ages 1 to 2, 1/3 cup for ages 3 to 5, and 3/4 cups for ages 6 to 12. You must serve all 5 components that was for breakfast. Must serve all 5 components for a reimbursable meal. Offer versus serve is an option for at-risk after-school participants. A vegetable may be used to meet the entire fruit requirement. When 2 vegetables are served at lunch or supper, 2 different kinds of vegetables must be served. So you can't do double corns or double green beans. You can do corn and green beans, but not 2 of the same one. If you choose to serve a seed nut, it only counts towards 50% of the meat and meat alternate. So you must choose another meat or meat alternate to meet the meal requirements. Need to select 2 or of the 5 components for a snack to be reimbursable. Beginning October 1, 2021, the minimum serving sizes specified in this section is for ready-to-eat breakfast cereals must be served until October 1 of 22. The minimum serving size for any type of ready-to-eat breakfast cereals is 1/4 cup children, 1 to 2, 1/3, 3 to 5, 3/4 cup for children aged 6 to 12. Larger portion sizes than specified may need to be served to children 13 through 18 old to meet the nutritional needs. This is for the at-risk side of things. So also must be unflavored wholemeal for children age 1, must be unflavored low-fat 1% and unflavored fat-free skim milk for children 2 through 5 years old, must be unflavored low-fat 1% unflavored fat-free skim or flavored fat-free skim milk for children 6 ages and older. As we've told you before, you can do that flavored milk for the older kids. Do not recommend it because Mary, who's 4, does not understand why Johnny, who's 6, gets chocolate milk and she don't. And that's just a battle you don't want to have to battle. So, pasteurized full-strength juice may only be used to meet the vegetable or fruit requirement at 1 meal, including snack per day. So juice is just once per day. You can do it all 5 days now. It used to be 3 servings, but it can be done daily now. At least 1 serving per day across all eating occasions must be a whole grain-based desserts do not count towards meeting the grains requirement. So at least once a day, you need to have a whole grain. And you need to designate what your whole grain is by putting a WG circled by whatever component that you're considering a whole grain throughout your day. Meat and meat alternates may be used to meet the entire grain requirement a maximum of 3 times per week. 1 ounce of meat or meat alternate is equal to 1 ounce of equivalent of grain. That's for breakfast. I don't know why I didn't say that, but for breakfast time, 3 times a week, you can have a meat instead of a grain. Which makes no sense. Seems like a sausage biscuit would be a good breakfast, but as it may, you can switch that out. Beginning October 1, 2021, ounce equivalents are used to determine the quantity of credible grains. Beginning October 1, 2021, ounce equivalents are used to determine the quantity of credible grains. Like I said, I'm going to bring this up over and over and over because we're not seeing it. We're going to have to start writing people up, for this. It's got to be done. Breakfast cereals must contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce, no more than 21.2 grams sucrose and other sugars per 100 grams of dry cereal. All right, the patterns. This is your measurements and your serving size. I'm not going to go through this. All you guys should be familiar with this. You should have actually given you a form of this right here in it. If you need to, you can take a picture and you have this right here. So
The name brand?
say that again. Nope. All right, serving sizes. This is a real basic 5 component serving sizes for the different age kids. You want to have that. All right, snack time. At least 2 of the 5. Credible and non-credible foods. Credible foods used to meet CACFP meal pattern requirements. Foods listed in this guide do not include all credible foods. Contact your assigned consultant with questions regarding specific food and required quantity. If you got a question, Food Buying Guide is an excellent source, but you can also contact us. Like I talked about that Food Buying Guide app, recommend it. Any non-credible foods do not count towards CACFP. Not saying you can't serve it, but you can have it. You still got to have all the other 5 components. But that food is not going to be credible. We're not going to count that in your receipts. Centers have to keep up with how much that they're to keep up with how they're spending their funds. Daycare homes, you don't have to at this time, but the daycare centers, you do have to keep up with your expense. And we're not going to, if you buy cupcakes, that's going to be counted out and not going to be counted in your receipt. So keep
Hey,
that.
Joe, let me talk on receipts for a little bit. The government says that you have to spend at least 50% of your reimbursement on food and milk. The other 50% could be spent on things like labor or
non-food items.
paper plates and cups and all the different things that we can't include toilet paper. That's not an expense for the kitchen. But anyway, you need
to go get the food. You can count that. So
yeah, you need to send us receipts for your labor and stuff like that. If you don't, and then it's going to look like you're not spending all of your funds, and it's very important that you spend these funds. But here, I've done some receipt audits lately, and here's some of the things that I have found. We go through these receipts pretty much with a fine-tooth comb, okay? We're finding that people are out buying just plain old white bread that's not whole grain and counting it as whole grain, or they're counting pasta but they're not buying whole grain. Or we've got where people will they're serving stuff that they did not buy, and they're putting it down on their menu that they served it, but they're not buying it. Same thing goes for people are buying stuff, but they're not serving it. In other words, if you've got a receipt and it's got an $8 a pound steak on it, and you didn't feed those children steak, then we've got a problem, because you're spending government money on stuff that is not allowed on the food program. So
That's not saying that you can't buy them steak and serve them steak, but you just, if you buy them steak, you have to serve them steak, is what she's saying. Steak's allowable
Right.
expense, but you need to, if steak's on there and you don't have steak as a meal, you know.
Yeah,
that's when you
or
start having
lobster,
trouble.
or lobster, yeah, lobster, or, what's that other little thing, the crab, and
Shrimp.
things like that. If you're buying it and you're not serving it, then, you know, that's submitting false information. We're not, we wish that you would check your food out, you know, the stuff that applies on the food program, check it out separate than your personal stuff, because the USDA is not going to pay for hair dye. They're not going to pay for dog food. They're not going to pay for foods that you're not serving. They're not going to pay for your tea or your coffee or your drinks or your candy bars or all of those things that you do when you get in the store. You've got to keep it separate, okay? And you've got to save those receipts. We've had a lot of people lately that have lost a lot of money because whoever went and got the milk didn't save the receipt, and it cost them dearly. And then we have a problem with people serving stuff that they did not buy. Well, if you're serving stuff you did not buy that month, then I need you to make me an inventory of everything that you've got in the kitchen, and it goes in when you send in the end of the month report. That way, if you say, for instance, if you served ham, but you didn't buy any ham, well, that ham would be on that inventory from the previous, that you sent in from the previous month. So we can track it down like that. But, for instance, we had one person who had was counting 40 children, but she would only buy 2 packages of hot dog buns. Well, that's only 16 hot dogs, but every day she's serving 40 kids, 40 kids, 40 kids. Okay. This lady's under investigation right now. So we've got to be very careful. Again, I can't stress it hard enough that we're messing with government funds, and they're hard on us. They don't let things slide by like maybe other agencies do. So those receipts are just so important. Make sure that the receipts that you send in are for the specific month that you're sending in. Okay. Another thing is, and I don't know if Joe's going to cover this later, another thing is milk. If you go out there and you buy 2% milk, we are not going to count that in your milk totals, because nobody can receive 2% milk. So we do pay close attention to those receipts, and need y'all to help us with that food cost as well as you can, and things like toilet paper and all that stuff like that, we mark that off. So that does not include it when we do our milk audit. Our receipt audit. So make sure that you spend it. Of course, nowadays with the cost of food going up the way it has, we don't have so many people that aren't spending 50%. But if you're still sitting there spending 30% of your money, with the way prices have gone up, it's something for us to. It's a red flag. That's what it is. It's a red flag. And again, don't mess with government money.
Yeah. So, and even, Mom alluded to a little bit that the prices are so more expensive. Many of you guys in the centers and stuff are spending more than you're getting in right now. So we've always recommended, getting the highest of quality. And if you got to cut back on quality a little bit for a little while, we totally understand that. And you guys have probably noticed too, we started getting new rates in July. So everybody got a pretty significant raise, and that's good. So that should help. So just really try to pay attention to hitting that 50% mark. So, because you did get a little bit of a raise, so we don't want to see it where people aren't hitting it again, but 50%, but you need to spend that other 50% too. Like Mom says, the state absolutely has the right if they want to come in and you've only given receipts and, you know, you've got 25% of it that you don't have accounting for, they have the right to come in and tell you, have you prove to them you've got that other 25% in a bank somewhere. So if you not turn in receipts to how you spent it, then it's supposed to be in a bank somewhere. You don't have to spend it all every month. You can save up, you know, if you know you're gonna need a new refrigerator or freezer, that's something you can save up and do it. You do need to call us in advance and say, hey, I've been saving up, I need to get a refrigerator, is that okay? And, you know, we can get approval for that and give you approval for that. So big purchases, you do need to, if it's over like $100 on the single item, you need to let us know. So not $100 over, you know, well, I guess if you're gonna get $100 steak, we need to know about that. I'm sure none of you's gonna do that. So, all right, grains, bread and pasta noodle products and cereal grains shall be whole grain or enriched meal or flour. Cereal shall be whole grain or enriched or fortified. At least one serving of grains per day must be rich in whole grains. At least one a day. And again, like I said earlier, you need to mark that. Right here it says with a WG item for the whole grain item. As of October 1, 2021, all production records must calculate grains to ounce instead of grams. So that's the ounce equivalent that we've talked about. Everybody's got to get them, not the grams, converted over to ounces. So this is how you identify a whole grain. A whole grain requirements. Whole grain rich means that at least half of the grains in a food are whole grains, and the remaining grain ingredients are enriched, bran, or germ. Some examples of enriched bran or germ ingredients include enriched white flour, oat bran, and wheat germ. In the child and adult care food program, at least one offering of grains per day must be whole grain rich. This requirement does not apply to infants ages 0 to 11 months. So you don't necessarily have to have a whole grain, even though the infant 4 or 5 formulas are whole grain, so you're going to have iron fortified. But like I say, you only have to have milk for those that are down below 5. So, all right, product found on any state agency's WIC program is going to be whole grain. So, method 2 product is labeled as whole grain or whole wheat and has a standard identity issued by the FDA is considered whole grain. And method 3 includes FDA statement. Diets rich in whole grain foods. If this is on the box, it can be counted as a whole grain. Diets rich in whole grain foods and other plant foods and low in total fat, saturated fat, cholesterol may be reduced the risk of heart disease and certain cancers, or diets rich in whole grain foods and other plant foods and low saturated fat, cholesterol may help reduce the risk of heart disease. So if those statements are on there, it's considered a whole grain. Method 4 meets the whole grain rich criteria under the National School Lunch Program. We're not going to worry about that. All right, method 5, the rule of 3. How will you determine if the product is whole grain rich? You will need to look at the nutritional label and list of grains. The first ingredient or second after water in the food is whole grain, and the second grain ingredient is a whole grain enriched bran or germ, and the third grain ingredient is also whole grain enriched in bran or germ. Things to watch out for: the term whole wheat or whole grain, multigrain stamped on the package cannot be used to identify a whole grain rich food. You must look at the ingredients on the label. So just because it says whole wheat, whole grain, it's not necessary. You still got to look at that label. So the best practice is to provide at least 2 servings of whole grain rich per day, but you are only required to serve at least 1. But you can do all 3 of them if you want. You know, it can always be whole grain. You get them used to it and feed them that, and it's best to go. So you can still serve fortified and enriched grains on your menu for reimbursement, but they do not count towards the whole grain requirement. All right, so we're going to talk about manufacturer statements or standardized recipes. Foods that have a standardized recipe or documentation, such as a child nutrition label or product formulation statement, showing that whole grains are primary grain ingredient in the food, whole grain rich in CACFP. So that's another way to get your whole grain. This is the 6 ounces per gram of sugar per dry. I know you guys have all been handed that, but you know, if serving size, how this works is serving size is 12 to 16 grams, they can have up to 3 grams of sugar. 26 to 30 grams, 6 grams of sugar. So it's a very easy, you just have to go and look at the serving size. For instance, the serving size of this is 30 grams. So it can have up to 6 grams of sugar. And you can see the sugar is 5 grams. So that would work, this particular cereal. So any questions about this right here? Because I do get a lot of people calling and asking about certain cereals. Does anybody have any questions about how to determine if a cereal qualifies? Nope. Okay. What is this? Oh, this is
Joe,
just a, yeah.
Sarah said that she's noticed a lot of people are serving Honey Nut Cheerios. They do not qualify. I do not believe. Did you check?
No,
the
we just
grams?
There is a Honey Nut Cheerio in the individual serving size that does
The
qualify.
malto meals. It's
The
the
one out of the box.
malto meals is one that you can serve if you look on the bag.
The malto meal Honey Nut, you just have to look. There's some Honey Nut Cheerios that count and some that do not. So again, you just
The
have to
name
look.
brand Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios do not count. But you
Right.
have to look on your side of your box or your bag to be able to notice it.
Let me see the ball.
But they do have, even the name brand has an individual serving, like where you're buying the cup, that they made reduced sugar that is eligible, but out of the box, was it General Mills, I think, doesn't, it doesn't, but there are multiple meals. You just have to look. That's the best way to do it, is just look. If you got any questions, call us about it. All right, protein, so especially on yogurt does count as a protein, and sugar limits in yogurts, there are sugar limits. So if your serving size is 1 ounce, you can have up to 4 grams of sugar. This is just a different diagram, but I'll hold this up here, so this is how you can check your yogurts. You guys should have been given this as well.
30
in the
grams.
packet.
Okay, you can't.
All right,
look at
credible
that.
meat
You
and meat
got
alternates.
plus
This
37
is the
grams.
list of credible meats that is eligible. I'll leave that up there if somebody wants to take a screenshot of that.
I thought they were WIC cereal. If it's a WIC cereal, it counts.
Yeah, all WIC cereals count. All right, activity
I didn't
time is it creditable? Oh, yeah. So right here is this or this credible? Is the Skippy natural creamy peanut butter credible?
Let's see. That's spread.
That's the spread, exactly. So the spreads are not, just the peanut butter is not. What about organic egg whites? Anybody got that?
Don't think so. Organic.
Diane, I don't need you to answer. Anybody else come up, tell me. What's y'all's idea? Do you think organic egg whites are credible? Somebody tell me.
Egg whites don't have protein, do they?
Yeah, so they're not credible, exactly. It has to be a complete egg to be counted. Not just the egg whites or not just the egg yellows. It has to be a complete egg. It can be blended together. So, like it says, the spreads are not credible and the egg whites are not credible. Frozen yogurt's not credible. These yogurt things are not credible. So, non-credible. Bacon, bacon bits, beans and peas, green beans, string beans and greens, peas, that are not credible as a meat alternate. Canned cheese sauce is not. Velveeta is not. So that's something that you guys really need to be checking too, is making sure even you're getting your sliced cheese, sliced American cheese, most of the time is a cheese product. It's not actual cheese. So you need to be getting real cheese to count the cheese, not just the cheese product.
I got it.
If you use that nacho cheese stuff that comes in a can, the only way you can use that is if that can has a CN label on it. The rules that the food program, the CACFP, are a little bit more stringent. Well, they're a lot more stringent than what the schools are allowed to serve Pop-Tarts and stuff like that, but we can't. And so just be careful with that.
All right. Anyway, that's a list of the non-credible meat and meat alternates. I won't read through those. If anybody wants to take a picture and look at that, if you got any questions about them, let me know. Things that are credible is, this is a list of them. I'll leave that up and let you take pictures of that. We won't read through that necessarily. All right, this is about the cheeses. So, if it says pasteurized processed cheese, is good to go. Where it's not good to go is this processed cheese food. Is that right? Yeah, no. Natural cheese is pasteurized processed cheese food. Cottage cheese, cheese spread, cheese foods, and ricotta cheeses are okay. The ones that are not credible are like these Velveeta slices, the where it's saying imitation cheese or cheese product or cream.
Processed cheese.
Yeah, all these cheese, the sauces, Philadelphia cheese, these are the cheeses that are not credible. So Kraft American singles, it says right on there, pasteurized prepared cheese product. So I think that's one that gets people. The cheese and macaroni and cheese box does not count. So make sure you're serving actual cheese. Fruits and vegetables basic. A vegetable can meet the entire fruit requirement of a lunch and supper, such as green peas and carrots. However, you cannot serve 2 fruits at lunch and supper. So you can do 2 vegetables, you cannot do 2 fruits. When more than 1 vegetable is served at lunch or supper, you must use 2 different types. We talked about that earlier. Fruits may be served fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. 100% pasteurized fruit juice may be only served once per day, but can be served every day of the week. Dairy, this is where we're talking about.
We don't want to see fruit coming in for lunch because that's 2 different liquid items. So save your fruit juices for breakfast or snack.
And also on the canned fruits, do not forget you gotta use low syrup, no syrup, basically. They don't want the high sugary content.
Yeah, on your canned fruits is what Diane was saying. She was a little bit edgy. Make sure it's not high fructose syrup. It's not in a heavy syrup. It needs to be in the light syrups to be able to be credible, or water. All right, milk. So whole milk, that is good for a 12-month, 1-year-old up to their 2. Once they turn 2, they have to be on a 1% fat-free or lactose-free. Also, soy milk is also credible in CACFP. You do not have to have a doctor's note in order to serve the soy milk, but any of the oat milks and almond milks and any of that kind of stuff that's going on, even goat milk, you have to have a doctor's note saying that it is okay to serve. But remember, I talked about it earlier. The doctor's note needs to say 2 things. Johnny cannot have milk, and the substitute for Johnny is almond milk or whatever it may be. But again, soy milk does not require a doctor's note. So for adults only, yogurt may be served in place of milk once per day, and a serving of milk is optional at supper. 6 ounces of weight or 3/4 cup of volume. Yogurt may be used equivalent of 8 ounces of fluid milk once per day, and this is just for adults. We have a few adult centers, so that's why I'm talking about that. The reason why this is actually, the CACFP requires like substitute milks to be nutritional equivalent to milk and meet the following nutritional standards. That's why soy milk is okay, and that's why the other ones, like the almond milk and the oat milk, they're not nutritionally equal to milk, so that's why they're not credible without a doctor's note. All right, newborns through 11 months old must be served breast milk or iron fortified formula. Breast milk is allowed at any age in CACFP, so breast milk can be served at any age. Iron fortified formula may be served to children between the ages of 12 months and 13 months to help transition to the whole milk. So you have a month that you can kind of, start blending them together and trying to get them together. Just keep that in mind. Unflavored whole milk and flavored reduced fat 2% milk may be served to children ages 24 to 25 months to help with the transition to fat-free and skim milk. So you can do the 2% for a little bitty period there, but it's very little. So
No 2%.
yeah, it says right here.
What?
They
Go
can,
back up.
when converting over to the 1%, they can use 2% for like a month.
Not 2%, whole milk.
They can use 2% for 1 month. I promise. Unflavored whole milk and unflavored reduced fat 2% milk may be served to children between the ages of 24 and 25 months to transition to the 1%.
And I also need to note here that silk, oat milk, almond milk, none of that counts unless you have that doctor's statement. The only milk that would count would be soy milk. So make sure you got that doctor's statement if you're serving anything other than milk.
You do have to have water available for your kids all day long throughout the day. They should be able to get water. Water bread is not a reimbursable. It may not be served in place of milk, but may be offered at any meal. We don't buy water, but you can, you need to have it available for them, but it just doesn't count for anything. All right, menu planning, meal planning and meal service, meal documents, production records, menus, substitution. We're going to go into this. So meal planning and preparation and service. Institution and facilities must plan for and order food and meals based on current participation trends with the objective of providing one meal per participant at each meal service. In other words, you must have bought the food for the amount of kids that you have. Regardless of the amount of food prepared or ordered, only one meal per participant may be claimed for each approved meal service. Meals should be prepared and served in accordance with the timeframes approved in the application and should start and end on time. Contracted meals should arrive timely with hot foods, hot and cold foods cold, and be served with the approved time frame. Disability and substitution. Modifications must be made for all CACFP participants with disabilities. A medical statement that explains their needs and provides guidance for modification must be on file to receive reimbursement. This is the medical statement request form. We have provided those. You can get one from the resource center if you need be, or call me and send it to you well. Okay, CN labels and product formulation statements. You are required to have CN labels on hand, and we are required to have them on hand here so that we can make sure that the CN product you're serving enough, and how we can credit that in the multiple different aspects of the meal. So store-bought combination food. So any breaded item, chicken, nuggets, fish sticks, burritos, canned pasta and meat, corn dogs, egg rolls. I don't even know what that is. Does anybody know what falafel is?
Falafel.
Falafel? What's a falafel?
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I remember when I listen to cooking shows and I hear falafel a lot.
Does anybody know what falafel is?
It's a vegetarian option. It's a vegetarian type food. It's like Indian or like that
Okay.
kind of food.
Well, thank you.
Tofu.
Well, it's not tofu. But anyway,
No, it's not
tofu's
tofu.
different.
It's a mixture of it's a vegetable and then they put it together. They have to fry it.
is
It's
it
like
good?
I can't think of the right word, but it's like Middle Eastern food.
Almost like ratatouille, huh?
No, it's got like chickpeas and all kinds of stuff in it.
Oh,
Okay.
the vegetarian stuff.
Yeah.
So frozen entrees, lasagna, mac and cheese, meatballs, meatloaf, meat sauce, pizza, pot pie, quiche, ravioli. All these items right here, we need to have either a CN label or a product formulation label. CN label versus product formulation so that you guys can understand this. So this is what a CN label, somewhere on the box, it's going to look like this right here. It'd be a box with CN, CN, CN. And as you see, 4 1-ounce fish nuggets with vegetable protein product provided is equivalent to 2 ounces of meat and meat alternate and 1.75 servings of bread alternate. So that tells you how many 4 nuggets, 4 fish sticks is 4. So pay attention to that. Fish sticks, you can find some CN products, but a lot of times you're serving so many fish sticks, there's no way a kid could eat it. So keep that out. So the product formulation statement, you should be able to get from the manufacturer. They're required to give it to you. And it should tell you the same thing. Like this one here, it says 3 chicken nuggets provide 2 ounces of meat and meat alternate. So that way you know how much to feed. So you can get that from them. So you do have to have your CN label or your product formulation before you can count that meal. So if you buy it and it's not CN labeled, it's a combination food, you need to start working immediately upon getting your product formulation statement, because you have to have it before you can serve it. So it must be on file, and we must have it. You need to send it in that month. Periodically, go ahead and send us CN products, because sometimes they change, sometimes they're good. There's not really an expiration date on a CN label, unless they change their product formulation somewhere. If they change it somehow and it reads differently, then we have to have that newest CN label. So periodically go and look at your CN label and make sure it's still saying the same thing. If it changes, make sure you send it to us. So. Also, just because a product is CN labeled does not mean it's a superior product. All the CN label is giving you is the information that's saying this is what it takes to feed that. It's not saying it's a better product. It's not saying it's the best product. It's just saying it takes this to feed it. So keep that in mind. Don't automatically just buy something just because it's CN product. You could be getting a better product another way. Oh, that's more of the product formulation. All right, also standardized recipe. So you need to have a recipe. If you're fixing something yourself, you need to have a recipe on file, a standardized recipe. So this is a list of different standardized recipes that you can get from them. It can be your own recipe, but basically what standardized recipe, go ahead.
On that child nutrition, on that very top when the child nutrition recipe box, I believe I was at conference when they introduced that. So write that down. This recipe box, you can go in there and it's got a lot of recipes in it. And you can go in there and put like, I've got 5 1 to 2 year olds and 10 2 to 5, and then it will adjust that recipe, the portions, it'll adjust the portions to feed that number of children so that you don't have a lot of waste. You can prepare those recipes out of that box. That recipe box. I think you'll really like it if you ever go in there and look at it, because it's going to give you a lot of help with how much you have to buy this thing and this thing and this thing in order to get that recipe. And again, you can plug in how many kids and what age you've got so that it makes it easier.
All right, so the thing with the standardized recipe, basically it's just saying that's a recipe, that makes sure if I'm making this for 10 kids, I've got enough meat in this recipe to be able to account it for 10 kids if I serve it equally, amongst the kids. So it's important to have it to make sure it's credible, number one, but it's number two is they also want to see that you're utilizing. So in other words, you need to be utilizing that recipe. Don't just have your recipe on file and then just throw stuff together and not actually measure things out to actually fit the recipe as well. So you need to have the recipe on file, but you also need to be utilizing it to make sure that you're serving the credible amount for the different components of your meal. This is that child nutrition recipe box Mom was talking about. It's a pretty neat little deal. Go in there and check that out. I think you guys will like that. So. This is kind of an example from it. So it gives you 25 servings and what it takes for the different servings, 50 servings. So that's what's in there. And you can break it down even differently. All right, meal documentation and production records. This is our production records that we use. Basic component of ours looks a little bit differently, but so this is the one for infant daily form sheet. You guys have been doing that. Does anybody have any questions on infant daily production records while we're here? Nope. It's just kind of an example of how to fill it out for each kid. This is a production records for our kids, for the older kids. You guys have been filling this out, you'll notice, this is what you're serving, this is how much you're serving. So make sure you're filling this out. This is just as important as this. We see a lot of this being left out. We do pay attention to this. If you're serving this much, if you got this many children, we need to make sure you've got this much meat to be able to do. And we're paying attention to this to make sure that you have the right amount of food that say that you're serving these amount of kids. So
Joe, would you go up one slide, please?
The infant,
Yeah. On your infant. That's not where, okay.
or you want this one?
If you're serving more than one infant, you need to have this little thing that's got each child's name on there, because if you've got, let's say you've got 5 infants, they're not all going to be eating the same amount or the same thing or whatever. So if you've got this form right here and you've got each of the children listed, then you're putting down there what you're actually serving that child, rather than just making a blank statement that I served this, and then maybe you didn't serve that to every child. Oh, and another thing I want to point out on infants is you do not have to buy baby food. You can take the food that you serve the older kids, you can take that and grind it up or smash it or whatever you need to do to make baby food. You don't have to go out and buy that commercial stuff, because that stuff has become expensive. So there's one way that you can save money is don't buy baby food, make your own.
Just blend it up. Other than the cereal, obviously we have to have the iron fortified infant cereal. Okay, other required documentation is, of course, your production records, your receipts, meal count sheets. We don't have anybody with vendors, so we'll bypass this contract that already prepared meals, because I don't think we have any. If you do decide you want a contract and have somebody prepare meals and send it in, give us a call. We'll help work you through that step by step so that you can do that. Because it has to be an approved vendor. You can't just go to anybody. It does have to be an approved vendor, and so we'll have to get them approved and everything. So this is the paperwork, and we've talked about this a lot, so we'll go ahead. That's meal count for vendors. Okay, we are at question and answers. Trying to think of anything else that I need to add to. Can you guys think of anything we need to add to it? Mom, Diane?
Not offhand, no.
I do want to impress upon, I talked about it earlier a little bit. A lot of you guys do a great job, but there are just certain ones that do not. We need your paperwork in end of the month. I mean, some of them, I'm getting them the very last day of the last RODAT, where tomorrow's the last day they can even put them in, and we're getting them. Absolutely no need in that, should not be. Like I say, the contract you agreed with us, you agreed to give it to us by the 10th. We need your paperwork turned in. It just helps us tremendously for that to be put in. So please, please, please get it to us. Like I said earlier, you are free to scan it and send it to my email. That's probably the best one to send it to. And you are free to fax it to us. We still have an old time fax machine, does a good job, so you can fax it to us. Need be
Joe?
last minute, you can take a picture and send it to us. Or iPhones have
Joe?
Yes.
You might tell them how to scan on your phone.
That was what I was just fixing to do. That's what I was saying. iPhones have the ability to scan, and you can send it and attach it to an email. So if you have an iPhone, you can actually go into notes. And when you go into notes, there's a little thing that shows take a photo. When you take a photo, it gives you the option of scanning that paperwork, and it will scan just like it's going through a scanner. Does a really good job when you scan that to it. I don't know if that's available through Android. There may be some apps available. I have an iPhone, so I just don't have the answer for that. But I don't know if anybody else does. If anybody knows if there's an app or something that they've used and utilized to be able to scan through your Android, let us know.
When you scan it, it gives us a clearer copy, because we have to be able to read all the foods and stuff and the names. So if you scan it, it comes through cleaner. If you're going to take a picture and send it, then you need to stand over your form and point your phone down, so that if you get it at an angle, then it doesn't come through as well. But if you get it straight up and down, you'll get a good, you'll
And
get a
make sure
good
it's well
copy that
lit.
we can read.
Make sure it's well lit too. That's something else.
Yeah, well
It
lit.
tends to be dark whenever we take a picture, so make sure it's a very well lit area. And straight up and down above, like this, not from the end of it looking, if you're like this, going from the end and looking up, then we get a lot of this and goes down to skinny at the top and it gets really hard to read when it gets to the top. So make sure you're directly above, taking a picture like that. So, any other questions? Anybody got any questions? Okay, real quick, before we get out of here, I want to make sure, we had some people step in later. If you missed a bunch of it, please go online and watch it. And if you are watching this if you're going to our YouTube channel and watching this, I need you to send me an email. Tell me blue is green. So if I don't get an email from you telling me blue is green, then I don't think you watched this full thing. So if you came on later and you have not gone into the chat and put down that you are attending, who is attending, and what center or daycare you're from, I need you to go into the chat and put that down so that that is your signing in saying that you were here. So please do that if you have not done that. We will get everybody. Also, if your email's changed or anything, put that in the chat too. Obviously, if you're here, your email worked, I guess. So everything that we've got, hey, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all that you're doing, man. Especially through all this COVID stuff we've gone through, you guys are making a huge difference. We really do appreciate all that you're done. If you need anything from us, guys, please don't hesitate to call us. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to be here for. We want to serve you, and we want to make it easier. Even if it's not food related, call. Sometimes we just have resources that you just don't know. Call. Worst thing you can do is I can't help you, but most likely, whatever it is, we really try to help you guys. So don't hesitate to call. We are here to serve you, and that's what we want to be. We want to make it a difference. We want to make it worth your while to be involved with our food program. So thank you guys for
Joe,
coming. I apologize to all the Razorback fans when I scheduled this. It was not supposed to be 11 o'clock game, so apologize for that. Hopefully you all recorded it. So go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Joe. They're putting blue is green in the chat. Is that okay? Or do you need
they
that
can
image?
hear. You don't need to if you're here. Blue is green is for people that are watching this on the YouTube channel. Make sure that they got it through to the end. Yeah, you don't have to put blue is green in here because if you signed in, put your name, then I know you were here. The blue is green is just for people that watch it on the YouTube channel. That's going to prove to me that they watched it. So.
Also,
Go ahead, Mom.
If you know any churches or community people that want to serve the at-risk or who want to serve the children in their community for the summer food program, tell them about it and give us a call because we need to see that kids are not hungry. And I know all of you daycares have kids that come in on Monday and they're so hungry they want to eat down your house. So if you've got anybody in the community that you think might be interested, have them give us a call so we can work with them and get them set up for either at-risk or summer food program.
The number of children that are not getting fed through the summer food program or the at-risk program is shocking, to be honest. It's shocking the percentage of kids that don't have access to anything. And so we are striving really hard to get this throughout our state. We go statewide, so no matter what, guys, we can help you and get it done because we really care about kids and we just want to make sure that they're fed. So we pride ourselves in having at-risk programs and summer food programs that are serving a quality food. They're not coming and getting crackers, cheese, and so we really can help you with that. And so that concludes our training, guys. If anybody's got
Hold
any
on,
questions,
I've got
I'll
one
hang
thing.
on. Go ahead, Diane.
I do have some more calendars that I have to give out to most of y'all. Some of y'all have already gotten some, but I will get those calendars out to y'all on my next
We
review.
just got new calendars, so.
Oh, gosh, I don't know how many's got them.
The new one. So. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you. I'll hang around for a little bit if anybody's got any questions, but you're free to go.
If after a while you do not have a calendar, please call Diane and let her know.
Thank you, guys.
Go get 'em.
Thank y'all. Have a great weekend.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
You
All right.
Bye.
I think we can now depart.
And then Carolyn called.
Carolyn
And
Ben's
now we
gone
get to
on.
leave.
I'm trying to get rid of. Yeah.
No, Lily. Sandra, you didn't work with me.